Hello everybody and welcome to the sow-a-long for our shallots that were in the January subscription box. Now it is the 24th of January today, so we're getting towards the end of the month. I still think it's a little bit early to plant your shallots outside, so we're going to start ours off into these module trays. Nice big modules, as you can see. And then we're going to grow them on in there for a little bit before we plant them outside. Reason being, it is so cold outside and damp and wet, and we do not want our shallots to freeze or to rot. So if we do them in these module trays with some nice free draining compost, then we can plant them outside when the weather gets a little bit milder, which is hopefully not too long. The nights are definitely getting lighter by the day. So as we can see, your shallots came in these lovely reusable organic cotton bags, and planting shallots could not be easier. So this is what your shallots looked like. I do have some more in the bag. So our instructions said that we are going to plant these from February to April. However, because it's January, we're going to start them off in modules or small pots. So if you're going to save your shallots until February, March time, then you can plant your shallots directly into the ground. As long as your soil's not too wet or heavy clay, that will be fine. But if you've got very wet soil, or if you're planting your shallot sets now like me in January, then we're going to use these module trays just because we've got a bit more control then over the temperature and over the watering. So to start off in modules, we're going to use free draining compost. That's really important because we do not want the sets to be sat in soggy, moist, soaking wet compost, because all that's going to do is rot your sets. And we're going to plant one set per module. So we're just going to take your shallot, and then if you can see, we've got the bottom of the shallot is there, and you can just see a few roots coming out, and then the pointy end is the top. So we want to take your shallot and we just want to pop it into the module quite deep. You just want the tips to be poking through. So if you can see, just like that. And we're just literally going to repeat the process. So pointy end at the top, the little roots at the bottom, and then we're just going to make a little hole and pop those in. And we're just going to repeat the process. So that is our shallots planted into modules. So the point of this is not to grow the shallots in here for the long term. It is just in the short term to get them bursting into life and get the root system to start developing. And then once the weather gets milder, we will plant those outside. So the tips are just poking through the soil, as you can see. And then we're going to give those a light water. Now, we don't want to water too much. Like I said, we want nice free draining compost, and we don't want too much water. We just want to keep it moist so that they can burst into life, but we don't want the soil to be soaking wet, because all that's going to happen is your shallots are just going to sit here and rot. So we're just going to give them a light sprinkle of water, like so. And then what I'm probably going to do in the last few cells that are remaining is pop some peas in there and get some nice little spring pea shoots on the way. So we had peas in our October box, so I'm just going to sow a few of those pea seeds that I didn't sow back in October, because I did keep some back, and I'm going to pop those in the spare module cells. But back to the shallot. So then we're going to keep our tray of shallots in an unheated greenhouse over the rest of the winter and protect them from any frosts. So even though they're in the greenhouse, if there are any hard frost forecast, then I'm just going to pop a layer of fleece over the top just to give them that little bit of extra protection, because we do not want them to freeze and then defrost, because that's when they go all horrible and mushy. And then we'll plant those into the ground in around March, April time. Again, we'll keep an eye on the weather. If it's really cold and really wet still, we'll probably just hang on that a little bit longer. But around about March, April time, you want to be looking at the weather, looking at your soil, and just making that decision on whether to plant them out. If you've got really heavy, wet clay soil, again, you don't want to be planting them out into that while it's still soaking wet. You'll probably want to just wait that little bit longer for the soil to dry out a little bit. You might benefit in that case from popping your shallots into larger pots. So you can plant your shallots into containers. If you're doing that, then do remember to give your shallots an occasional feed every now and again, because they won't be able to have access to the nutrients in the same way that shallots planted into the ground would have. So we do have to, if we're growing them in containers, we do have to just give them that little bit of an extra helping hand. And then throughout the year, we're going to keep the shallot sets watered during dry spells and keep the area weed free, because we don't want them to be competing with weeds. And we will remove any flowering stems if they start to form. And we'll just keep looking after them, keep an eye on them until about late August time and into September, when the tops will start to die back, and that is how you know that your shallots are ready. So the shallots, when they grow, they will divide a little bit like garlic does. So we will get around 8 to 10 bulbs forming, all being well, from each little set that we've planted. So we're going to have so many shallots next year, and we're going to have a nice warm summer, and everything's going to go fantastically for us. And then when we lift the shallots, we will lift them carefully and in dry weather, and this will help them to store that little bit longer. But if anything like me, shallots are just so amazing and so tasty that you'll probably just eat them all really, really quickly anyway. If you do want to store them, then we're going to hang them in nets or trays and keep them in a frost-free place. So if you are going to hold on a little bit longer and plant your shallot sets directly into the ground, you just want to add some good quality compost into the area you're going to plant, and then you're going to plant the shallots around 15 to 20 centimeters apart, again with the pointy end facing upwards, so no difference there. The tip of the set should just poke through the soil. It is worthwhile covering your shallots with fleece or cloches if you're growing outside straight away. That will just help protect them from any frost, which will cause damage to your sets. And it will also help to protect them from those pesky little birds that just love to pull those out of the soil. So I hope you've enjoyed watching this video. As you can see, it really could not be easier. It's a nice 5-10 minute job to plant your shallot sets. If you have any questions at all, please do reach out and I'll be more than happy to help. But enjoy your planting, enjoy your reusable cotton bag, and I will speak to you all soon.